What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. Today, we're doing a video unlike any other video that I've ever done on my channel. I am going to be reading through all of your guys' random comments on my videos. This was basically a Patreon member suggestion, and I decided, hey, why not? Let's have some fun. So I'm just going to read through some comments, see what you guys are saying about the topics of discussion, and I'm just going to let it out. I'm going to give some responses. I'm not going to hold back, and we are going to have some fun with this. Before we get into the comments, though, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. We're about 400 or so subscribers away from that huge 10,000 subscriber mark. So again, I would be greatly appreciated if you became a subscriber. We are going to have a massive giveaway once we hit that 10K. Be sure to check out all the other awesome links below in the description as well. Okay, folks, let's get into it. Let's just start from the top here. So as you guys see, the videos that they're responding to are on the right. You can see the thumbnail and the title of the video, and then we got the comment here. So Tony recently left a comment on my top key comics to invest in for 2021. So this was last year's video from about a year ago now. Let's see what Tony had to say. There are so many copies of Marvel Spotlight 28 and Moon Knight 1 that the undercutting is great. Now, Werewolf by Night 33, there are fewer copies than 32. Plus, Werewolf by Night will have his own series, and this cover has both on it. When collectors put all that together, it'll drive 33 through the roof. The cover alone and the price is reason enough. Tony, thank you so much for this comment. So Tony is obviously talking about Moon Knight's first appearances and early appearances here. So he's talking about print run and how that's going to affect and drive the market. And he's also saying that he thinks that Werewolf by Night 33, which is the second appearance of Moon Knight, which was on my list last year, he's saying that because Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight are both on the cover, it's going to really drive it up. So I think Tony makes some great points here. Obviously, when you think of Moon Knight, 33 isn't going to surpass 32. His first appearance is, in my humble opinion, a blue chip key. But there's a lot going for Werewolf by Night 33. So I think Tony hits a nail on the head there. He brings a very valid perspective when it comes to print run as well. But for all of you, you may hear me talk about don't get so fixated on print run, though. Print run isn't anything. Remember, especially with comic books and with the fact that when there is X amount on the market at any given time. So we can't say, oh, there's X amount of demand and there's 100,000 print run. It doesn't matter if there's only 100 copies of that issue on the market at any given time. So we got to be careful when we talk about print run, because if there's only a few on the market at any given time, that supply is that few that's available. If people are holding on to their books, they're not going to be available. That can also be a downside. So when certain books get hot, they might immediately spike because demand exceeds supply. But if people catch on and start selling books and more books go up for sale, it can actually drive the value down if supply ends up becoming higher than demand. All right, thank you so much, Tony, for that great comment. We're going to heart that there. I would have left my reply on the comment if we weren't doing this video. But we're moving on to, what is this, Jeff024758. Looks like he left a couple of comments. Let's read. So this one was the first one that he left here. This was on my No More 9.8 graded comics from CGC. So this was a discussion that I had with Swagglehas, good friend of the channel and amazing YouTuber himself. Go give him a sub if you're not yet. We discussed our take on 9.8s in the booming 9.8 market and the discrepancies in the differentiating between the 9.6 and the 9.8 grades and how that could be a detriment to the market. Let's see what Jeff had to say here. Comic book hustle. I agree with you. CGC is a human endeavor, so inherently there will be errors in your favor and out of your favor. I think he's pointing to the fact that I got a 9.8 on a book that was clearly not a 9.8. It was much lower grade. I don't collect comics to flip them. I just love the stories and art. Sometimes I'll buy a comic book series because I love the characters, concept, story. Scumbag, check it out. But the art sucks. Sometimes I'll buy a comic book I don't read just because the cover is a masterpiece in my opinion. Anyway, CGC is imperfect, but I like the idea of how the books are graded and the presentation of the graded book looks aesthetically pleasing and is relatively durable. For now, CGC is the industry standard until something better comes along. Jeff, thank you so much for this comment. I think I ultimately agree with most of what you're saying. You know, we inherently, there's going to be human error with CGC. I always relate it to the strike zone in baseball. There's human umpires. There's human error, but that margin of error is very small. For me, for CGC, and not just CGC, for other grading companies as well, that margin of error is way too large. It's way too large, and there's too much riding on it, especially between the 9.6s and the 9.8s. And when you're looking at sometimes, you know, hundreds, sometimes thousands, sometimes multiple thousands of dollars between the value of a 9.6 and a 9.8 CGC graded book. And one day, just depending on the grader, that book can come back at 9.6, and the next come back at 9.8. There's too much margin of error. I'm not going to get too much into that right now. You guys can check this video out and watch the video. But then the way he talks about collecting, I agree with them. I'm very much similar. We all have different styles of collecting. I always say, collect what you're passionate about, in the good words of our good friend, OMG Chris, rest in peace. Then he finishes up with saying, for now, CGC is the industry standard until something better comes along. That's a bit of a, I mean, that statement right there can be taken out of context because ultimately, I think what's better comes down to perception, right? And it's a matter of what we as consumers demand. And it's not to say that everyone thinks the CGC is better or inherently they are better. It's that there's that larger public perception that CGC is the best. And that's why so many more people keep sending their books to CGC next to the competitors. But I do believe that the competitors, including obviously CBCS, but including some of the other ones out there, like EGS, are gaining market share, even if it's very small. So, Jeff, thank you for that comment. Jeff did have another comment right up here. He said, and just a personal horror story, I bought a Batman Damn CGC Gem Mint 10.0 on eBay. It arrived in my house, and it had a visible crack in the CGC casing that was so bad that arguably someone could have maybe swapped books, although I don't think that's what happened. Immediately took pictures. The seller was honorable and returned the several $100s that I paid. I was still disappointed because I wanted that 10.0 Gem Mint rating on a relatively popular book at the time. Oh my gosh, Chef. Yeah, hey, you know what I'll say to that? That is a bummer. I'm glad the seller worked with you, Jeff. All right, let's go. Let's see here. Caterpillar Pants, subscriber of the channel. Let's read what they wrote on new comics and inflated prices. Are LCS owners taking advantage of consumers? So this was a video I talked about. You know, is it ethical for an LCS to raise the price of a new comic book on the day of release, on the next day? Can they sell, maybe limit one cover price? And if one customer wants to buy multiple copies, maybe they, you know, do more of a fair market value of what it's currently selling for. Again, if you guys want to hear my thoughts on this take, watch the video. But let's see what Caterpillar Pants had to say. Love the handle. This makes me wish I had the sense to pre-order a comic like the King Spawn 1 signed 1 in 25, a 250 variant at Midtown Comics when it was $600. Whew! It was a pretty good price and reflective of the eBay auctions that I saw the day before. And I had that much on me. By the time Wednesday morning rolled up, they brought the price up to $1,000. I'm not too keen on stores inflating prices on the day of release, but a day later is sort of okay with me. That's why I'm at the store bright and early on New Comic Book Day. The guys I see every Wednesday morning, 1 hour before opening, I invariably see people who will constantly complain about the store's tactics. But one thing that I can't abide is a store withholding copies of a hot book variant, which I've seen more than a few times. Okay, so again, folks, watch the video if you want context, but here's the thing. When it comes to incentive variants, those books more than others, the LCSs can do whatever the hell they want with. So I think I might be in a bit of a disagreement with Caterpillar Pants here. But look, the the retailer, the LCS, already has to abide by these strict, standards from the publishers, where you have to order so many books just in order to get one copy. So if a store has to purchase 250 books just to get one of these variant covers, they could sell that variant cover for whatever they want. I don't care if they're pre-selling them or if it's the day of release or a day later. These incentive variants, they can do whatever they want with. And again, just like I said in this video, the difference with an LCS store is they're not just a primary market, they also sell on a secondary market, and they sell collectibles. It's not just like, you're going to a Best Buy and looking at home, electronics like a TV or a washing machine or anything like that, and they follow strict MSRPs, and most of them have contracts with the manufacturers of the devices. It doesn't work like that, and there is no law. Unfortunately, there's no law that says, well, when does a new comic become a secondary market collectible? And sometimes the market, us consumers, because we demand these books so much and the value increases above the MSRP of that $3.99 cover price, it could be deemed a secondary market collectible the day of release. That's everything in a nutshell. So when you look at the incentive variance, I'm not mad at all. I'm not mad at all. Hey, look, if they upcharge it to 600 or to 1,000 and nobody buys it, then that's on them. They could drop the price a little bit then and see if someone will budge, but they put in the work, they put in the money, they could sell these variants at whatever they want. But Caterpillar Pants, to your point though, get savvy on those pre-orders though. That's why they're there. Even for your standard books, the preview pre-orders where you get 35% off. All right. Here's another one on this one. Let's see what Brian says on New Comics and Inflated Prices. I go to one LCS who will take hot book, example, Last Ronin #1, and sell regulars one book at cover, but all additional would be at market price. That's great. So what he's trying to say here is if the book was already selling for 20 bucks, 25 bucks at the day it came out, maybe he'd let every customer get one at cover price, but sell a second additional copy at $15 to $20 or something like that. Let me continue on. I know my old shop who would pull extra hot books off the wall and say they are sold out, but then he would have them on eBay for the trending price. In both cases, they honored cover for pre-orders. There is another store that I go to that always yanks the hot books, let's say that are MCU potential, and months later, he all of a sudden has stacks of a key book that was supposedly sold out months ago at a high going market value. I don't hold anything against these shops. I just frequent the shops I know consistently get a fair price. He consistents the shops where he can frequently get a fair price. Okay, Brian. So, different things here. I mean, look, again, there's no law that says these shops can't do it. Is it ethical? That's the question you got to ask. I mean, none of this is technically illegal, but it all comes down to us as consumers. What are we going to put up with? I think the shop that has a hot book, it's the day of release, it's already selling at more than market, and they want to sell one per customer at cover price. But look, if you're going to want to buy multiple copies, because who's going to stop you from going and flipping them on eBay and making more money than I am? Me, the LCS, that has to pay rent and electricity and overhead and pay my staff. Why should I let you come in here and buy 10 copies at cover price when they're already selling for $40, $50 on eBay? If you want a second book, I'm going to have to charge you more than cover. I love that idea. Withholding some back and selling some on eBay, well, hey, look, if a seller has an eBay store and an LCS, it's fair game, but to what extent are they holding them back for eBay? Are you only leaving like 5 on your rack when you ordered 250 copies or something like that? You should be fair and balance them out. Put enough on the rack for your customers. Of course, leave enough for your pull list and if you do pre-orders. So, again, it just depends on the details. Now, in the LCS simply tries to hold all of them back and maybe weeks later thinks they're going to upcharge them at the store, they're taking a risk by doing that, because you never know what a book's going to do in 2-3 weeks or a month from when it comes out. That spec book might not pan out, and they might not even be able to sell them at cover price at that point. So again, is it ethical? Maybe, maybe not. But I, as a comic shop owner, they're taking a huge risk if they're holding all of them back, thinking that they're going to just throw them out on the shelf a few weeks later and sell them at $10, $20 a pop if the spec pans out. So a lot of question marks to ponder there. Let's see what Peter, good friend of the channel, Peter Thornton, let's see what he has to say about this video that I did. Comic books in 10 years, should we be worried? And I talked about the future of comic books. Peter says, that was a really great take on the future. I'm with you on that. Yeah, I think digital regular books are only like 20% of the market max. Yeah, they're not even, the last I checked, which was last time we had data, which was 2019, they were just over 10% of the market. Who knows, maybe they've grown a little bit over the last couple of years, but there's been so much money in the market with COVID, it's hard to think that percentage would have really increased a lot. He goes on to say, the people that say it's dying or saying that their legacy characters are being torn down by diversity are so wrong. The original Superman and Batman will be right there in 20 years. Very, very true, Peter. It's the same thing I hear from all my uncles about music. A decent song hasn't been written since 1973, and nothing compares to classic rock. Like, come on. The Silver Age isn't the last time a good story was told. Thanks, Chris. Peter, I love the music analogy. So I agree. Look, like, you grew up with classic rock. I love a lot of classic rock, man. Creedence, Clearwater, Leonard Skinner's. Those are two of my favorite bands of all time. I even like a lot of folk music from back then. I love Don McLean. So and then I love hip hop. I love, oldies. I love all kind of musics. I love salsa music. I love some 90s grunge rock. I love Def Leppard, 80s big hair bands. To sit and get stuck in what you loved growing up and to say, oh, everything right now is horrible with music. A lot of people do that. It's just not true. It might not be for you, but it's not all bad. There's great stuff out there, and your classic rock isn't going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. So very good analogy. It's not apples to apples, of course, everyone, but he's just trying to make a point that I definitely agree with. There's so much diversity in comic books, and I mean diversity in terms of the story, the art, the product, and how it tends to the collectors and the consumers. There's something there for everyone. And if you don't believe that, then you're purposely putting a blinder over your eyes. All right, let's see. Good friend of the channel, Lee. All right, Lee commented on the future of comic books. Are we doomed? Let's see what he has to say. I think there is good comparison to whether paper comics will still exist or will it all be digital. If you look at vinyl records, they also took a dip and almost disappeared, but last month's statistics came out and showed that white vinyl records sold then showed, maybe meant to say more vinyl records sold than CDs. If you use this analogy where old is new, I do not see comic books in the current from disappearing. I do see the price continuing to rise, which is an issue itself. I agree. Yeah, price is definitely going to be an issue with inflation and everything else. We got to remember here, the future of comic books is we're talking about the primary market and the secondary market. In this video, I talk mostly of the primary market. What are comic books going to look like in terms of new releases? What are these publishers going to be doing? Not back issues. So that's the same thing with looking at the music industry. Well, what are these artists and the record labels and the distribution companies? What are they going to be? How are they going to be distributing their music? Is it going to be on record? Is it going to be on cassette tape? Is it going to be on CD? Oh, is it going to be on MP3? Is it going to be streaming? We know that records and vinyl, they're always going to be there. And with music, vinyls are a collectible. So it doesn't surprise me that vinyls are selling more than CDs. I think that's been going on for a while now. since CDs kind of straight off, and we got more to the digital download and then into streaming. So it doesn't surprise me at all. So that's like looking at the secondary market with comic books. What the primary market of comic books is doing isn't going to be directly correlated to what the secondary market of the back issues are going to be doing. Back issues are always going to be selling just like vinyl records are. People aren't buying vinyl records right now because they want to listen to the new hot Rihanna song or Young Thug song or Jay-Z song or something like that. They're buying vinyls because they love the collectability. They love the classic way to listen to music, or they're just a collector, or they're a DJ and they still use turntables, right? Because the most people that are listening to new music, they're streaming it. So the most people that are reading new comics, what are they doing and what are they going to be doing in 10 years from now? That's the big question. I do think the digital is going to continue to increase slightly. I don't even think it's going to be 10 years. I would be surprised if the digital comic market is more than 20%. I would be very surprised. I do think it's going to expand, and I think price point is going to be a challenge for sure. All right, let's move on. We got time for a few more. We can keep going here. Comic gains. Let's see what Comic Gains says. Are key comics really dropping insane amounts? So this was a video I did discussing how there's a lot of information out there that is very misleading when it comes to looking at what comic books are doing on the market. And there's been a lot of information being thrown out there of comic books decreasing by these insane amounts. And watch the video, folks. I'm not even going to get into it here. But Comic Gains says, thank you for this video, brother. This is random, but I'm curious what got you into comics and what your most memorable moments are in the hobby. I think that would be a cool video to see how you have evolved as a collector, and also to hear your awesome experiences, stories, and collecting. Anyways, hope you're feeling better from COVID, that is. God bless. Comic Gains. What a great idea. I won't really answer that in depth right now, but I will say some of my favorite moments have been doing YouTube and being here with you guys. And I mean that, doing my live streams, like, maybe when I did my, live celebration for 5K subs, or, there's just been a lot of good moments, but there's been some great moments. I mean, the biggest moments that I hold are moments that I have as a kid going to the comic shop. I mean, nothing beats that. I mean, I have my moments where I've gotten my grail, like when I first got my ASM 300 or my ASM 129, and what those moments meant to me. But I was an adult for both of those. So those moments as a kid, nothing compares to that. Nothing compares to that. I still remember being in the grocery store getting my first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic, the Archie Adventure Random House soft covered 3-book collection that came with the cassette tape. I'll never forget sitting in the cart with my mom and my mom buying that for me, to my local comic shop that I used to go to when I was a kid. And I remember it was this really long, thin, tiny little shop, and it was always really dark in there, and you would go all the way down to the end of the shop and they had their toy case. And I remember the toy Voltrons that they had in there, just wishing one day that I could own that. But some great memories there for sure. Comic Gains, thank you so much for that comment. Let's see. Let's try to get some comments on from some other videos. Let's see what Rec Nips had to say on the video. Avoid these 5 mistakes when pricing comics. So this was a video I did just saying, like, these are some issues, like people don't pay attention to grade. And they go look at like the highest sale on eBay and they price their book at that price, but they're not seeing that this is a beat up reader copy, things like that. So go check that video out if you haven't yet. Let's see what Rec Nips had to say. Yeah, man, a lot of people really don't understand the value of books at all, even actual comic shops. My LCS likes to sell the hot keys at the moment, which is fine, right? Okay. I think they use Key Collector to price their books weekly. For example, I went in and found a Darth Vader #1 in the $5 bin that was in low grade, had a lot of color rub and spine ticks. They just wanted $5 at the time, but I passed because I figured I could find a higher grade for a decent price. Well, I went in this week and they have the exact same book I found in the bin inside their display case for $30. Sometimes the market is insane, but I guess it's all a part of the game. Well, Rec, appreciate the comment. I'm not too sure what Rec's point is. Like, I just so I don't know. I don't know if he's saying that this price for the Star Wars, if he thought it was too high and for 5, and now it's too high for 30 because it got hot, and that they like to price their comics for what's hot at the moment. Any LCS needs to be pricing their comics for what's going on at the moment. You know, and I always talk about this. You got to be on top of your inventory. That comic shop did the right thing by grabbing that book and upping the price, because if we don't know that issue, he did say, Darth Vader #1 has boomed these last couple of weeks because of what happened in the Boba Fett episode 2 with Black Chrysanthemum showing up in that episode, and this is his first appearance. So I don't blame him. Now, is $5 or $30 a fair market value for the grade of that book? I can't tell you that. I'm not looking at the book, but I think this comic shop did the right thing. I have no problem with what they're doing. Now, if they're using Key Collector, I have no idea how they're pricing their books. To be quite honest, though, Key Collector's great in terms of a database, but I don't know how they price their books. They're obviously estimates. They do the low, the mid, and the high. So if anybody's pricing their books just on an average like that, it's a bit of a generic number. And I don't know if they update the prices and the values as often as they should, because I often see that their rough estimates for low, mid, and high are low, to be quite honest. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing there, but I don't see anything wrong with what that LCS did there. All right, Frank Pardo on the same video. Let's see what Frank had to say here. Sup, Journal, I was going through some key raw books in my collection. Many are 9.4 to 9.8 candidates, and in doing my homework, books can be worth 3 times more in the graded form. Yeah, crazy, right? How would you go about trading raw high-grade books for CGC books? Or is it simply not possible? Don't know if it's a dumb question, but your input is much appreciated. Keep up the great work. Thanks. Thank you, Frank. Great question. Well, look, you know, you got to study the market. It's that simple. So, Frank, if you have, you know, Secret Wars 8, so to say, the origin of the black symbiote suit, and, you know, in a 9.8, that book's going for, you know, $1,000. I'm just saying. But in a 9.4, the book is going for, you know, 250. And you have this raw book here that is a high grade, and this book could be anywhere from a 9.4 to a 9.8. Because honestly, sometimes it's hard to tell. And let's hypothetically say a 9.6 to a 9.8. Let's say that book sells for about $350 to $400 in a 9.6, and it's selling for $1,000 in a 9.8. And you got this raw book here, and you think it's definitely either a 9.6 or a 9.8. If you want to trade it for a book that's already graded, you got to look at what that graded book is and what the value is. It's much easier to find the value of a graded book, because say it's a key book that's a 9.6, you got to go find the recent sales of that book in a 9.6, say it's white pages, whatever the case may be. Find the estimated value. If that estimated value for that book is $800, and you have a raw book that might be $1,000 book, if you send it in and it comes back a 9.8, nobody in their right mind is going to trade an $800 already graded book for that raw book that might come back a 9.8 that might be worth $1,000. Because guess what? To them, it's raw. And if it's a 9.6, it can be worth less than that $800 of the book that they have, and it can be worth only $400. So, when you have a high-grade raw book, there's no way that you can expect a top-grade value for that book raw. So, if you had a book that was roughly could be anywhere from $400 to $1,000 if it was a 9.6 or a 9.8 graded, I wouldn't even pay the $400 for it. I wouldn't even pay the $400 for it, because if I bought it raw and had to go send it to CGC, I would still have to probably press and clean it, if I wanted to, and send it into CGC and pay the money to get it sent to CGC, and I'm not even guaranteed that that book is going to come back a 9.6. If I actually, in my best judgment, thought that it was a 9.6 to 9.8 candidate, I might pay $300 at the most for a book that was valued at $400 in a 9.6 CGC grade. So, Frank, my answer to you is, if you really want to make a fair trade, spend a few dollars to get the book pressed and cleaned, and spend $30 to go send it to CGC and get it graded. Or take your chances. All right, folks, let's do 2 more comments. I'm going to let Frank know. Just answered this in my my video I'm uploading today. All right, two more, and then we're going to call it a video, folks. Let's see what Jay has to say. This is the same video. Avoid these 5 mistakes with price of comments. I often recommend that online buyers request additional internal photographs of their prospective raw comics in order to evaluate page quality, page color, staple quality, concealed damage, and possible missing additions like collectible stamps, mailing cards, tattoos, full color marketing ads, etc. In terms of graded books, never buy the new numerical grade alone. There are loads of 9.8 grades in circulation that don't look nearly as pristine as their numerical grade would initially suggest. Jay Black, nail on the head to everything you said right now. Absolutely everything. Folks, everything he said, everything Jay said, 100% facts. Thank you, Jay, for leaving those thoughts. Lessons to learn from everyone here. All right, let's see. All right, let's see what Will has to say right here. This was on my video, Dirty Old Flippers. Is selling comics make YouTubers dirty flippers? I definitely recommend you guys check this video out. Will, thanks for the comment. He says, Journo, I am a school administrator who sells comics part-time. I sell comics on Amazon. If you ever want to do a show about selling on Amazon, I'm your guy. I've never sold on Amazon. Too complicated for me. I've thought about selling comics full-time and think it takes guts to not take the safe road by teaching full-time. I owned a comic shop at 14. You owned a comic shop at 14? And have always dreamt of doing that again. Hope you get to experience it. Well, Will, I hope that's an error, or maybe it was in the family and you worked in the shop at age 14. But thank you so much for the comment in the support, Will. I was saying in this video that I am an educator, and what I do with Journo's Comics has allowed me to continue to work only part-time. Why I do Journo's Comics and build the brand, and a part of that now is selling some comics on the side. So yeah, again, folks, I'm not going to get too much into that. Watch the video. Good to hear that Will is able to be an educator. Big shout out to anybody who works in education in some form or fashion. And good luck to selling on Amazon, folks. It's a beast. All right, let's do one more comment, folks. Let's look at Lord Tapman's comment on the same video. Does selling comics make YouTubers dirty flippers? I think a lot of folks don't appreciate how good comic collectors have it these days. We're spoiled. In the 80s and 90s, we actually had to work to find gems. Now you can press a button and have near-mint copies delivered to your door. There will always be predators in every hobby, in industry, and market. Yeah. I've met a lot of horrible people in the hobby. Overall, most people are good. If no one sold books, we would not be able to get high-grade books that we love. Buyer beware always. Very well said for sure. And he's just pointing to the fact that, look, just because somebody sells comics doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make them a dirty flipper. It doesn't mean that there's some conspiracy theory. Even if they have it YouTube, there's a whole negative generalization and stereotype of YouTubers that sell comics. And I understand that there can be a conflict of interest there. But guess what? LCS owners very much can have a similar conflict of interest because you could go into their store and they're trying to sell you comics. So, what's the difference if you're getting information from somebody talking about comics on YouTube or if you're going into your LCS and listen to your LCS owners or workers talk about comics? They're gonna pump up comics wanting you to buy something. So just because somebody's an LCS owner doesn't mean that they don't have ill intentions or they're not playing their deck of cards with full ethics. So you just gotta you gotta be a smart, educated, responsible buyer. Watch YouTube videos, listen to your LCS staff, but at the end of the day, you got to be smart. You got to trust the people that you're taking information from, and just keep it real with yourself. And at the end of the day, if you're educating yourself and making smart decisions, you can't go wrong in this hobby. There's going to be like Lord said here, there's going to be snakes and bad people out there no matter where you go, in life. And you just got to be aware of that. It doesn't mean that just because somebody is selling comics or trying to build a brand and have a YouTube channel, that automatically makes them a bad person or unethical, or that there's some other type of hidden agenda behind what they're doing. And you guys know me, I talked about it in this video. I always try to be 100% transparent in what I do. So, all right, folks, we're going to end the video there. I mean, man, a lot of great comments, and there's a lot to talk about with these comments, and that's why I love responding to all of your guys' comments. Obviously, I'm recovering from COVID, just finally feeling better, and I have a lot of comments to catch up on, and I'll try to do my best to catch up on all of them. But let me know your thoughts below, folks. Did you enjoy this video? Did you like me going through these comments and talking about them and reading them with you guys? If you did, I can maybe do one of these. Maybe we can do it once a month or twice a month, every other week, and be something that we all can do together, and then we can share our thoughts in the comments on these videos. So let me know what you think, if this is worth me doing again, if you enjoyed it or you thought it wasn't really for me. Of course, leave those thoughts below. And again, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Thank you all so much for watching. Be well, and until next time.